My name is Barbara Ann Brenner. I work on the endurance event at the national office. And at the end of the table is Jason Brin, who also works on the endurance event, and he's from the Delaware Valley chapter. Also here on the stage, we have Eric Hudzik, who, did I say that right? Eric Hudzik, thank you, who's the presenter on the CF Climb event. So let's give our cheer to Eric and Jason. The viewers online, you may submit a question. We will pass the questions to the presenters. Also, we had two other presenters, but they cannot attend. This week we just learned one of the presenters lost a dear family member, and the other presenter is dealing with an emergency family. Our hearts are with those presenters. But Jason Brin, who will share the PowerPoint slides from one of the presenters' slides, that you will hear amazing recruitment tips and fundraising tips. So now I'm happy to introduce you to Jason Brin.
Good morning, everyone. Before we actually get started on this, just wanted to remind everybody, for the people in this room anyway, Barbara Ann and I have left a few items on the back tables there, so once the session is over and as you're leaving, please make sure to grab the items that we've left back there. They're endurance event forms. It'll give you more information on our cycle, our hike, and our climb events. And it's also has a few ideas on how to help you fundraise and raise more money. All right, so now I'm on to Tony. So sorry, I'm seeing this for the first time, so excuse me 1 second here. I'm hitting buttons that I shouldn't be hitting. There we go. So on Tony's first slide here, so Tony Barrett is a strong team leader. And he is not only the team leader, but he also secures probably 90% of the team through his connections at his company. So all I have to do is call Tony, give him a heads up of, hey, Tony, this time last year you had about 8 riders. Right now you're at 6, and usually within about 48 hours he's doubled that number. So he's a great guy. He's definitely a good person to call, bounce some ideas off of. So if any of you are lucky enough to have a guy like Tony, don't be afraid to use them. So the next ride is, this is why Tony rides. Tony's been riding his bike for many years before he joined the cycling event because one of his friends had a newborn baby who was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. So he does have a personal connection, and as we all know, those are the easiest targets to take and start running. So Tony rides with Team Raymond James, and their team has raised a total of $52,173 in just 3 years. So, yep, Tony does a great job. Tony's donations have accounted for $40,759. So I can say, because I work very closely with Tony, that not all of that actually comes from pounding the pavement and asking people for donations. While he does a great job with that, he does something that one of our old field directors, Steve Hartley, used to love to tell everybody, is to work smarter, not harder. Tony, working at Raymond James, has no problems asking for corporate donations, and they come through with that. So don't be afraid to ask your team leader or any rider if their company has a matching program, a grant program, or anything that's going to get you more money, because that is the ultimate goal. Team recruitment. Again, Tony, I do wish that Tony was here. I was telling Barbara Ann, I guess they met once, maybe through Skype, but Tony he's an older gentleman, but you would never know it by meeting him in person. He is very, very well in shape, takes very good care of himself, and he is not shy. Tony has no problem going up to a complete stranger and just start talking to them. We were having a lunch and just going over his recruitment plan, where he was at a certain time last year, what his goal was for this year, and a guy sitting next to us by himself eating a salad just appeared to be a guy that liked to ride bikes. And Tony excused himself from our table, walked over, sat down, and they had a 10-minute discussion. The guy didn't end up joining us, but still, he got up and for 10 minutes talked to a man about CF who was a complete stranger. So Tony does recruit through his company in honor of Bennett. Tony added a new member each year, new members each year. His team grows and grows every year. And it's simple. He literally will just walk up to anybody and ask them to join. More recruitment tips. Tony wanted to give you specific and new recruitment tips, and he is hopeful that you will share this information with your chapter. Bike shops. Before I start this slide, you may consider each item for each endurance event. So for example, and I'm going to go off script here a little bit, I'm spoiled in the sense that they've actually just been bought out by Trek Bicycle, 2 shops in the Philadelphia region that was called Human Zoom Bike and Boards. So not only did they do cycling, but they also did skiing and snowboarding. So it's a great outdoor shop. I basically walked in, went right up to the shop owner, and because most shops are small and the owners are always there, and simply just gave him a heads up about the ride. He had remembered me from a previous position, and for 3 years they were all in. They took our cycle brochures, our posters, they held information sessions, they led group rides, and it's just an ask. You know, it brings the shop business, you know, hopefully the shop itself, their customers will join the team just by coming out from a shop ride. So don't be afraid to talk about your other events at all the outdoor shops, especially if it's more than just a bike shop. Ask the bike shop manager to hold a group ride. We kind of just covered that. Attend the bike shop ride and spend 10 minutes. So go to the rides. You know, one of the things that I've always explained to our former executive director, Eileen, and now my current executive director, Jessica, it almost seems like I'm in the office a lot, but then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm either on a hiking trail with my hikers. Usually Sunday mornings are the best time for me to get out to some of our local cycling trails between 7 and about 10:30, 11. Get out there. Go to the bike shops. Go to the cycle trails. Show face. And I know it's a little early and you might rather still be in bed or spending time with your families, but you know, it's part of the job. So get out there. Introduce yourself. Talk about the ride, the hike, the climb. You'd be surprised at the response that you get. Let's see, either item. Yep. So then emails. It's the easiest ask. You don't even have to leave your desk. Just shoot out emails, personalize them, you know, make little notes about when is someone's birthday, or, you know, if one of their children had a play, how did the play go? There's always a way of turning things around and, you know, going a little extra. A little extra will go far. I'm not going to say a little extra will be extraordinary. That's terrible. A house party. This is another thing to do. Whenever you're having a family barbecue, just don't be afraid to drop that you're taking part in an event or you're recruiting for an event and that you would love a donation. You know, kind of guilt them into it, saying, you know, I bought all this food. A little donation back towards the cause might not be a bad idea. Or put a lock on the cooler and tell them the only way that the cooler will open is if they give you $1. Right? So have a little fun with it. Corporate meetings. This one's a tough one, I'll admit it. You get hung up on a lot or asked to leave the building from time to time. But when they pay off big. And it's absolutely worth doing. Reach out. LinkedIn is a great tool. You know, everyone that wants to be a professional is on LinkedIn. So don't be afraid to make a cold call through LinkedIn. Again, it's an easy way. It's an email. If you're nervous and you don't want to get on the phone and talk, or if you're nervous and you don't want to go to that networking event and do the face-to-face thing, just connect through LinkedIn. It's a great tool. It's one-on-one. You know, most people will at least respond to the email that you sent them. So talk to the HR director if you don't already have a contact to get into the door. Explain what the event is and why you would like for them to participate. Ask to secure a few employees to join the team. So once you've got in there and you've gotten in front of people, secure the team. And ultimately, the goal is for them to become a corporate team. And while you're there, you might as well plan a small ride. So you say you go in 1 week, in a couple of weeks, plan a small little ride that starts at their place of business and goes about maybe 10 miles, so 5 miles out, 5 miles back. It's quick, it's easy, it's painless. And it's a good way to get people excited about what they're about to take part in. fundraising tips. Start early. Yes, very important. Start early, almost 10 months ahead. A great example will be Eric. So my Stair Climb, or CF Climb website wasn't up just yet. And it was basically because I'm trying to secure a date because we had moved it outdoors to a stadium. So Eric gave me a nice little reminder that he would love to start his fundraising early. So that day the website went up and he's already started his fundraising. So and I have learned myself that if you start fundraising early, you will reach your goal and go beyond. Write emails or letters, through the fundraising website that you guys are provided, or that we provide you. Again, it's a simple way. You can just shoot out a mass email soliciting your friends. You can use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any social media platform. Also meet with your team members. Make sure that you're not just talking to the team leader. And if you are just talking to the team leader, try and use him as a go-between between him and his riders. Keep everybody engaged. He follows up on his conversations. He will, like I said, Tony's not shy. So once he has a conversation, he literally will go right back the next day and say, hey, did you give any thoughts to what we had just talked about the other day? As I spoke about earlier, many companies have charitable funds. As I said, Tony went right to Raymond James and asked them, what do they do and how can they do the match and so forth. So ask the riders, ask your team leaders. Ask big, ask for those high donations. Ask big and get small, but you're getting something. So, and you never know, the following year when you go back to them, they might give you big. What we like. What Tony likes about the ride is he likes to make it fun. So I'll touch on this with the team tent. So Tony, they qualify for the team tent, which is $5,000 level. We make sure that Tony has certain demands. He doesn't want it too close to the DJ because his team likes to have fun. They like talking to one another. In fact, they like yelling over one another. Everybody's saying, I got the jersey, you didn't get the jersey, try harder. These guys, they actually come out and they have a great time. The team tent will work. It's a great way to get teams to strive to get that $5,000 goal so that they can get a tent. A few years ago, I was able to secure some furniture from a furniture company that was going out of business and just wanted to clear space in their showroom. So we gave Tony and his team a nice little sectional that they could sit on. Side note, when you do a bike ride in August and they give you a leather couch, it does not go over so well with the riders. Just make sure you have towels so they don't burn their legs. Recognition. So Tony's great with recognizing his riders. He does a really good job of keeping people engaged. They get copied on most of the emails that he does send out to his riders, giving them a shout out about a donation that was made, or they reach a certain goal that they have amongst themselves. But we have to do the same. So when you're sending out that email blast, I send out a weekly newsletter, and I wish Tony was here because I do it for Climb as well. So maybe you can tell me. A weekly newsletter goes out, and I hope it doesn't bother you guys. I don't use Emma. Well, at the time it was Constant Contact as much because I felt like not many people read what was coming out of Constant Contact, so I sent it out on my own personal email. Again, it took a little more time, but it added that personal touch. And I gave shout outs to anybody that had a big fundraising, I guess you say, increase from the week before. I ran a top 10 list. I know you always want a top 20, but I just do the top 10 to keep it competitive. And it seems to have worked with Cycle. I'm not so sure with Climb, but I have some here that I can ask later. The circuit jersey. Most cyclists are diehards for the jerseys. So anyone that is a serious cyclist, they love jerseys. I'll go on the trail and I'll have the jersey just hanging up in a tent. And I wish that we were able to sell those because I get asked so much, how much is the jersey? Can I buy the jersey? Like, sorry, I can't. But the jerseys are a great tool for fundraising. And it's also good to push them because they get the Circuit Series jersey, which is that nice yellow jersey in the middle there. And it also allows them to take part in any ride across the country. And then the after party. So we spoil our riders. Tony doesn't really get to say too much about his after party because it's our after party. We were able to secure Conshohocken Brewing Company as our start-finish site slash hosts for the after party. So it's a local brewery. It's a small tap room. They have now actually blown up into 3 or 4 different locations. But they literally open up the door for us an hour early. Our riders can go in who've taken the short route and just want to cool down. And at 11 o'clock, each cyclist gets a drink ticket. Something that I've learned before, if any of you do this, or if you're going to have a bike event, do not give them their beer ticket before they start the ride, because when you're checking riders back in, they just skip and go right to the bar. So the first year that we did this, I could not find 30 of my cyclists, and the local police district was saying, hey, can we open the road? Can we open the road? And I'm like, no, I still have 30 cyclists out on the road. And then they in turn sent their car looking for 30 cyclists that weren't there because they were at the bar. So just a fundraising tip, but it's a great, one of the things that beer helps the event. I know we need to be careful about it, but we did this event this will be our 9th year, and the last 3, the event has grown, and I strongly believe not only because of guys like Tony, but because we moved it to a brewery. So just take that into consideration. And then Tony wanted to finalize his presentation by sharing all of these tips, and he hopes that you guys will take these and run with them. That's it.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. It is still morning, right? Yeah. My name is Eric Hudzik, and I'm here to talk about my amazing wife, Mary, who you can see her back right there, and a shirt or a jersey that I got her because she's continuing to try and exercise and run 5Ks, and she has cystic fibrosis. So what's your excuse? First I have a question for Jason. When are we going to start doing the Stair Climb near a brewery? Okay, so a little bit about my wife. She was diagnosed at birth with cystic fibrosis. She's currently 35 years old. We got married, we met in college, and we got married in 2006, 11 years ago. And we started dating a few years before that. She's had a lot of ups and downs over the course of her life. She was in and out of the hospital a lot when she was a kid. Had a bit of a tough time getting through college. Went on to get her master's in genetic counseling, and now works part-time as a genetic counselor. So obviously CF played a part in doing that. So she's an amazing, just like all CFers, she's an amazing person, and she's the inspiration for why I do any of this. So here's some more cute pictures of my wife, and our cat Rocky on the left there with her, who does treatments with her every night, and a picture of Mary and our lovely niece Samara one of the times when Mary was in the hospital. I said a little bit too much on the other slide. So Mary and I don't have any human children. We have 6 furry children. We have 3 cats and 3 rabbits. And we're kept busy with 2 nephews and a niece. One of the more recent challenges that we faced is that from a lot of the medications, the aminoglycosides, IV antibiotics and stuff that Mary's been on, she suffered a lot of severe hearing loss. And I'm going to take this time, because I know that she's watching, to say, Mary, I love you. The point of that is that we've learned sign language to try and get over the fact that she's almost deaf in one of her ears. So now, back to the climb. So I guess I've done the stair climb with Jason for, I guess, about 8 years. I've only got some of the higher numbers listed here. When we first started doing the stair climb, however many years ago, or I guess they've done it for over 30 years, I think. It used to be in a high-rise building in Center City, Philadelphia. It was 54 floors, and the first year I did it, I made sure to do the non-competitive one just to make sure I would survive. And after that, I started signing up for the competitive climb. And I make it a point every year to try and beat Mary's doctor and everyone else from her CF clinic. So far, I still have. And obviously the whole goal is to try and get higher and higher every year. We started out, it was just myself and Mary's sister. And from that, obviously, we've expanded over the years. We've kind of formed a splinter-off team with one of my friends and former coworkers. Last year was a little bit of a down year because I changed jobs and I lost a pretty big sponsor of my former company, so I still got to get my new company to get in on the action here. And to that point, one of the things that I always make sure to do is to keep collecting names from all parts of my life. Every time I change jobs, I work in IT, I've done consulting work, so I've collected a pretty large network of people that I go back to year after year after year. And so hopefully they'll all keep remembering and donating. And to that point, Jason, about the top 10 emails, that does light a fire under us because you always tell me when the woman whose name I forget jumps ahead of me for a little while, and then we go back and forth. So, teams and more teams. As I said, it started out the first year that we did it 8 years ago. It was just myself and my wife's sister. And my wife's sister is all the way on the left, her sister Kate. And I guess it was the first year, or no, it wasn't the first year that she did it. I think it was maybe the second year. She was pregnant with, she was 6 or 7 months pregnant with the little guy in the Batman outfit there, who now does the stair climb with us. So it started with us, and then, like I said, since then, a couple years, I got some coworkers to do it with me. Within the last, say, 5 years or several years, a coworker of mine started her own team that I think drives Jason and the rest of the folks at the Delaware chapter that do the CF Climb crazy because they always list their name as team name redacted. So I think it just confuses the hell out of everyone that works there. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more. You can see in the picture on the right, now some of these people were pretty competitive, but my friend always happens to fall into the age bracket there, and they do it by gender and by age bracket for the medals. And for several years in a row, she's come in third out of 3 for her age bracket, and this is the proudest moment of her life. So that kind of gets to one of the points about recruiting people. It's obviously sometimes it's difficult for endurance events. A walk is easy, you just show up. The endurance events generally take a little more time, a little more effort. The stair climb is actually, depending on how long you take, it's not like the bike ride where it takes hours. You know, if you walk it, you can probably be done in 45 minutes. But still, people are scared of doing it. So I usually kind of try to take a couple of approaches. The people that are very active, they're athletes, they're competitive, the workout types of people, for them you can stress to them and point to them that, you know, it's a totally different thing from running a 5K, from doing a cycle. It's a completely different experience for them. Not everybody has done stair climbs. I've learned a surprising number of them throughout the country. But so I put it to those people as a new challenge. As something that they can be competitive about. They are professionally timed, and so you know they can compete against anyone else in their whatever competitive circle of friends and stuff that they have. And then I try to push it to the non-workout types, just as something that you can try to do to accomplish. You don't have to, if you don't want to, you don't have to train for it. You can make it. Like I said, my sister-in-law did it when she was like 6 months pregnant. The kids get like halfway through it now and then give up and go eat candy. But and again, the fact that you can win medals is a very surprising, well, I guess not surprising, but it's a very big encouragement. And as far as getting people to join the team, and one of the things that I've found has helped me in the past is that for Unlike for the walk, and I assume that this is probably the same for the cycle, and I know it is for the hike, that there's a minimum donation. Now, people will have like the entire year or whatever to try and get to whatever that level is. But a lot of times people are still a little hesitant, like, oh, okay, if I don't, because you have to pay a little bit to sign up, you give the credit card number, and then I guess technically if they don't raise it within a year or whatever, they would technically get charged, whatever it was for the donation. I always tell people that I get to sign up, I tell them, I will guarantee you that you're not going to get caught with that. First of all, I know they're going to raise enough money. And secondly, I always tell them, if you don't, I raise more than enough to cover it. So you're not going to get stuck paying something that you didn't expect to. Sometimes that quells some of the fears that it says that there's a fundraising limit. So now how do we fundraise? One of the most complicated things sometimes is at the office. It's always kind of a little bit iffy how active you can be. And so one of the things that I've tried to do at my various different jobs is kind of a passive strategy of creating little tear-off flyer ticket type things, like, free guitar lesson kind of thing, but for the stair climb. I hang it in the break room, I hang it on my desk, people come by, they ask what it is, they take one, and I've gotten a pretty good response from doing that. You can also talk with your company. Obviously, again, some companies are funny about, how much fundraising you can do on the premises, whatever, but maybe you can get yourself into a company newsletter, something like that. So you can hold local events at local businesses. You'd kind of be surprised how many businesses are willing to do some sort of a percentage night or whatever it might be, or at least to host an event. So ask around to any businesses, friends of business owners, any business owner friends that you might have. One of the things that one of my friends with the medal before that she does is they live near Newark, Delaware, and when the college kids are all in town and my friends go on a bar crawl, she literally carries a box around that says donations for CF for the stair climb. She carries around a box and asks everybody at all the bars to donate to her. So you have to get creative. Okay. So making the ask. How do you do it? Sometimes I'm still afraid to do it. I've gotten a lot better about it. But the worst that people can say is no. I guess that's not the worst they could say, but it's probably the worst that they're going to say. Personal contact is key. I'm sure that everybody sends emails out to their entire contact list, out to everybody on their Facebook friends. What I've found works a lot more effectively. You're probably not going to be able to send an email to absolutely everybody, but I try and kind of send groups of emails out. If it's a group of employees from a previous job, a group of former coworkers, I say, hey, everybody from X job, or hey, everybody from this team that I used to play on. So I sort of try and tailor whatever my message is to whatever part of my life those people come from. One of the things I only recently realized was that on the CFF website, you can export a past donor list. So you can go through, see how much everybody else had previously donated, and make sure you hit up those same people again. And I got a tip from somebody that does the CF hike. Did I bring it up here? I don't think I did. But she makes little baseball cards with a picture on it and the information on the back of, there it is. And the information on the back for how to donate. And even with a little QR code, which I'm not sure how you even do, but to make it as easy as possible. Another little thing that I tried to do this year is you can edit the URL for the donation website through the CF fundraising site, but this year I actually went ahead and I registered a few domain names for myself, like Eric CF Climb. It's a lot easier to remember than whatever the other thing is, numbers, blah blah blah. Persistence. People a lot of times will say, when I ask, they'll say, oh, that's great, I'd love to do that. Let me just wait till the end of the month when I get paid, whatever it might be. You can't be afraid to be persistent about it. A lot of times people, they'll forget, they'll mean to. I know sometimes I do, oh yeah, I'll have to do that, and then it never shows up on your timeline again, whatever it is. So I try and contact people by email, by Facebook a couple of times, the people that I know I can count on, and I post about it a lot on social media. And the way that I kind of do it is, since I've tried and be pretty competitive for the stair climb, is that every time I'm doing something to try and train for it, whether I'm, working out for it, whatever, doing a practice climb or a few times before, a few months beforehand, is I always post about it. And I say, hey, I'm doing this, back to climbing thousands of stairs. Here's the URL that you can donate to. And tell an emotional story. Obviously, the thing that I always say is, this takes me 20 minutes on one Sunday a year. Mary lives more than this every single day. So don't be afraid to make the personal and emotional pitch. There's been times when Mary's been in the hospital close to when we do the stair climb, I do try to play the guilt card. It takes a little while before you can kind of feel comfortable doing it, but you're just telling your story. You're not, we should feel comfortable doing that. And people need to know. People need to know how important it is to you and to your family and to your life. Okay, and then let's see. What we like about the stair climb. Like I said, compared to some of the other events, it's a little bit quicker. It's kind of sucks for that 20 minutes, but then it's over and we can have the after party. The medals, like I said, and I guess similar to the jerseys, things like that are a surprising incentive. People tend to be very competitive. Again, with the professional timing that we have, they actually have, I'm not even sure what you call the timing companies, but they come out with the bibs and so you cross the finish line and it's not just a stopwatch, it's actually recorded time. For the first time this year, we moved it to October, and actually this ties in with the next one. Previously, we had done it in a building, and within the last 2 years, we moved it to the Major League Soccer Philadelphia Union Stadium. And so now it's a stadium climb instead of just straight up. It's up, down, all around the stadium. Which is different. It's outside, which can be a blessing and a bad thing if the weather sucks, but it kind of allowed us to do more of a family event because there was more space. We tried to theme it as a Halloween thing this year. I think I've seen videos from some of the other chapters that have done this too and have had some success. People running around up and down the stairs in Halloween costumes, but you got to be careful with capes because you might trip. But as you saw in that photo earlier with Batman and the pirate, my niece and nephew, they got a kick out of it. They had candy all over for the kids and whatnot and things like that. And lastly, we've never been able to really guarantee this, but both times we've had it at the Philadelphia Union Stadium, it just so happens that the team has been practicing there. So I've gotten a few of my friends that are really into Major League Soccer to come kind of with the hope that they're going to see people, and they have both times. So people have gotten to meet the coaches, the players. I think people have actually gotten to go on the field. Have they let us do that before? We're not yet, not by their standards, but so hopefully we can. Yeah. I guess that's all that I have about that. That's why we do it. Why we do it is for people like my wife Mary. Hi, if you're still watching. I think that's the end of my presentation. So, thank you.
So Jason's got a few questions from the online viewers.
So we have one question. Do you recommend suggesting a specific amount when asking for a donation? It's a two-part question. How do you determine the amount, especially if it's a big company and can afford more?
Or if anybody in the room.
Is this okay? It's on. Actually, is it? Yeah. Well, Jason. Sorry. Oh, okay. Yeah, as far as corporate donations, they have the CFF provides. They have their levels of sponsorship. I really haven't tried to ask for. I haven't done exactly what Jason said you should try to do and ask big. I have usually just presented the businesses that I've gone to with the form, and they've donated whatever that they feel they can. I haven't ever really gone after any really large companies. So I mean, the donations that I've gotten from smaller businesses have been $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, which are obviously still greatly appreciated. So I mean, how in the past with the stair climb with the folks that got the Hello.
So I'm going to pull double duty here and walk around, and if anybody has questions, so people online can hear them, I'll be in the audience.
But I'm also going to give more information on the question. If you look at Tony's slides, when he first started asking people, he always had his eyes low, his eyes down. And now he goes right up to them and he'll ask his nice neighbor, like $500 donation. He always asks hi. When he goes to the corporation meetings, he always asks for $10,000, but he'll walk around $2,000 to $1,000. So he always asks hi, and that's how he gets his donation high. Okay, Jason?
So I fundraise for the stair climb myself. And I have no shame because I've been told no so many times. I'm immune to it. So, so basically, I will put it on my Facebook page. I will call all my friends. I will guilt my family, whatever it takes. And I don't have a specific amount that I ask. I kind of do what Tony does. I do ask big, but my big is $100. And I usually, to be honest with you, my mom gives me $100, and everybody else gives me $50 to $25. So, but yeah, it might not help you totally, the online person that asked, but, try and find out. So the other part of that question was what number should they ask for? Be greedy, just disguise your greediness. Go in there with a little information, know what they do, know who's who, and, maybe try to find out what other donations they've made to other charities and use that as a starting point. Question?
Did you see an increase in climb participation when you moved it to an outside stadium?
Ask the question. We didn't hear it.
The question was, did we see an increase in participation when we moved it outside? The first year, no. We did see a decrease because, as Eric was saying, there's a lot of climbs, but we're in Philadelphia, which is obviously 90 minutes from New York, and in New York they have what they call Top of the Tower, Conquer the Tower, which, to make a very long story short, is the world championship of tower climbing. And our climb, unbeknownst to us, when it was in the building, was a qualifying climb. So basically like a 5K, 10K, like your marathon, when you ran, your time was registered and you were able to go do the top of the rock. Once we moved it outside, all of those, competitive climbers left, which didn't hurt because they don't fundraise more than the minimum. This year, we saw an increase in climbers because we were able to push it out there more, and the people that took part in it were able to go home and sell it to their family, friends, and coworkers. So we did see an increase this year. So we don't have a rain date. It's rain or shine, only because it's a stadium and it's a multi-use stadium, so that's kind of the risk you take. Like our Great Strides event is in a stadium. It's at Citizens Bank Park where the Phillies play. So, it's rain or shine. There's not much we can do. Ideally, we'd love it to get to the home of the Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. So everybody knows the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Yes. I know I'm standing next to Massachusetts. That's why I did it. But yeah, we would love to get it over there because maybe it'll push our event and get more people out. It will add more stairs, Eric, but
Because he likes going up and down and up and down.
Yes.
Ask the question.
Eric, can you describe the difference between competitive and non-competitive in stair climb?
Sure. Yeah. So that's what when my sister-in-law and the kids and everyone do it, they do the non-competitive one. And really, that's just first they send the competitive climbers, so they'll spread us out by 10 seconds, whatever, so that there's a little bit of space. They do all the competitive climbers, and then they just let, as kind of a big, almost just like the walk. It's just, okay, here, let's all go. You can stop whenever you want to. When we did it in a building, they had every other floor or whatever it was, the doors open, so you could, bail out and take the elevator or stop or whatever if you wanted to. My sister-in-law, when she was 6 months pregnant, had to stop like every 5 floors to go to the bathroom. But she was still able to finish it. So yeah, it's just like with the walk. It's a participation kind of thing. It is. What was that? No, not for the non-competitive one. The competitive one is, and that's why I actually do tell a lot of my friends. This was even more important when it was in the building. It's easier now outside, but I tell people that even if you don't really think that you're going to be competitive, or you're not trying to beat anybody or set a record time, I tell people just do the timed climb anyway. It doesn't, it's not going to cost you anything. That way, first of all, then you can see how you did and maybe try to beat it next year. And also because then it spreads you out. It was worse when we were in this, the first year that I did it was the only year I did it non-competitively, and we were still doing it in the building. And so I did the non-competitive one, and honestly, it was like, okay, go. And then it's just like a death march with everybody crammed together in, a hot, sweaty, stinky stairwell up 54 floors. So I always tell everybody, even if you don't plan to push yourself, or even if you don't think you're going to finish, just do the time climb, just for the heck of it. So, but so that's the difference. For what they tried to do this year, or rather last year, was the first year that we had done it in the stadium the prior year, but last year we moved it to October, so we tried to do sort of a Halloween-themed event. The weather didn't really cooperate, so we weren't able to do it quite as much. But the idea was to have, like, for the non-competitive, especially the kids, to have like trick-or-treating stations kind of at different points throughout the stadium. So that's kind of the difference.
We have several more questions.
Oh, good.
Hold on, but I'm going to start over here.
But a comment is, a lot of times the day of the thing arrives, and then your donors don't hear from you afterwards. And one of the best fundraising we did, in taking advantage of how bad the weather is to film ourselves during the day saying, look, we're out here in the pouring rain 3 years in a row. All you have to do is write a check from your nice warm bed or whatever. Like something that's funny, or something like, going to the bathroom every 5 floors. Go to the bathroom every 5 floors. All you have to do is write a check. Is very effective, especially if it's funny.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's true. Besides always making sure to try and go through and thank all your donors afterwards, in the hope of getting them to come back year after year. To your point, if you have a story about it, or whenever I send my thank you emails, I try and say, okay, here's how here's how much money the team raised. Here's my time, and here was Mary's clinic doctor's time, and how I beat him again. Things like that. So that's a good point.
Yeah, actually, just to piggyback off of that, so, and we saw this a lot in the slides, either yesterday or the day before, but I do think that something that is important to reiterate is the power of the thank you, because these events happen every year. They sneak up on us every year. So, you feel like you just did great strides, and here it is. So just to kind of reiterate the importance of saying thank you to those donors, in hopes that you have kind of a core group that helps you with your fundraising efforts on a yearly basis. So I just, again, we saw it on a lot of the slides yesterday, but I do think it's just so important, because when you're doing a handwritten thank you, or even just saying thank you at the event, I think that's powerful to those people. And I think, for us as fundraisers, it's hard sometimes to actually remember the simplest things. And sometimes the simplest thing is just saying thank you. And to let those people know that you're not taking them for granted, or their donations for granted, whether they're small or big. And I think what was just said about posting during the event or shortly after the event, I think that's an awesome idea. We did the extreme hike in North Carolina last year, and a friend of mine that I hiked with was doing post somehow with some kind of internet connection, I'm not really sure how, but was doing post, during the hike and was getting a lot of traction from donors and actually received donations while we were hiking. So I think just to piggyback off of what you just said over here on the left side of the room, that's a great idea as well.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe next year I'll try and set up a post, beforehand, and then while I'm on the stairs I can post it or something.
Okay, so I got a question and a comment. So how much is the fundraising minimum? Because currently at the Gateway chapter we don't have a climb. So what's the fundraising for the climb?
Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 125. 100. Okay, I was off.
Oh.
So, yeah. So the hike. I think the hike is a lot more than that.
Yeah, the hikes.
But,
That's what
okay.
we do. And just to kind of piggyback on what they said, just really asking everybody. And for me, I get a lot of 500, 1,000, 1,500 sponsors. I don't have any of the big companies or whatever, but I don't really prejudge. I just said, would you consider? And that seems to work really well. So, I'm pretty for sure I'm going to get the 500 at least. And sometimes they surprise me and they do more. So one of the things that we've done that's been super fun for the hike, we do a pub hike. And so instead of a pub crawl, we call it a pub hike. The first year we had about 49 people, and then this past year we had over 100. So I know that we're going to be able to double that. And it's a fundraiser for our extreme hike, but it is a super fun event. We have some super cute t-shirts, and we really, that's going to be an event we're going to keep growing on.
Jason, get on that.
Yes, I'm stealing that idea, actually. I know I saw someone else. One more thing.
One more thing. So how we do it is we do it in we have a small town of about 18,000. So we have it in the bars in the downtown area. We pick 4 places, and then one of my supporters makes this little map, and we divide up into groups, and then we cross back with each other. So, if you got a really kind of cool downtown area, that really seems to work, because obviously we don't want to drink and drive. So, and then we have dinner at an event. But next year, there's a new one of the restaurants is opening an additional microbrewery, so we're going to have a silent auction there afterwards.
Oh. Back up to the Eagles fans.
Okay, so I have a question for anybody in business cycle. We have Okay, so we have 3 different lengths. We have a 12, a 30, and a 65. And one of the things that we always struggle with is having everybody together to celebrate, at the end, and trying to figure out, how to stagger the times and all that sort of stuff. Actually, we did have the top cycle in the country. I just want to say that. My colleague Terry Waite, I want to give her a shout out. Plus the top fundraiser in the nation right here, Linda. So I'm just trying to figure out if anybody else struggles with that type of logistic, with getting everybody out on time, being able to do the hoopla, before each, group of riders goes out, talking about the mission and all that. But then sometimes, those last 65 milers, we're just hoping there's food left and beer. So we're just trying to figure that out. And so if anybody else has those same struggles or issues or any suggestions, because, the 12 milers go out and back, and they're back in less than an hour, some of the top cyclists. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, so my question was, I want to know who else does a staggered start. We have our 65 milers go off almost an hour before the 30, and then the 12 milers go, later, a half an hour after the.
I think because we did the stagger start this year, and they actually all came back within 45 minutes of each other. And we do the beer tent and everything afterwards. So we changed the short as a 20 miler. So now I have 3, and next year we'll have 4. Barbara Ann, we're adding the century next year. Yep. So the first one's 20, second one is 40, and third one is 65. So the 65 milers go out first, and they're a little more competitive. They're faster out the gate. Then we let the 40, so there's 10-minute intervals between each. So our 20 milers go out 20 minutes afterwards, and they only hit that one rest stop, which has a lot of food, and we do photos, so they're slowed down a bit there. And 65 milers typically don't stop at that first rest stop. So we got them all back in the door except for my better half, who was the last one across the line, but he was helping others. All of them but 3 were back in the door for all the festivities, and they stayed and stayed.
So that's a great point. We actually do that ourselves at the Delaware Valley chapter. We have a 20, a 34, and a 65. The 20 is on a bike trail, so it's 10 miles out and then 10 miles back. That's helped grow the ride because those that don't want to be on the road with vehicles just tend to take that, and it's a quick and easy ride. We do stagger the start as well, so the longer routes will go first and the shorter route goes last. Again, with the beer tickets, be careful. If you do make a move like that, you learn as you go sometimes. You expect the unexpected. As far as our stair climb goes, it is $125 if you count the $25 registration fee, but the fundraising minimum is $100. If you're doing it in a building for the climbers or anyone that, the actual participants that might be paying attention, try to get them to what they call blow out the stairwell at least a month before your climb. One of the things that we learned is when we asked them to blow it out, because a lot of the people that were participating in our climb, the reason why we moved it, that did have CF, were complaining that it was harder for them to breathe, even the fun climbers. But take into consideration, if you have them do it prior to your walk, like a day or two or even a week or two before, when they blow it out, they just turn on the air vents and all the dust rains all the way down and gets on the handles and the railings and everything. So give them a chance to do it and ask them to have the building services people go through the stairwell with like a wet rag to clean everything up, because we'll also make the stairwells slippery. So I heard someone back there asking about it, so I figured I would just bring it up.
Yeah, that's true. That was a benefit of not or moving into the stadium that I didn't mention. There was definitely when they had it in the stairwell. It was good to know that there were a lot of pulmonologists around at the time. So.
Question?
Hold on.
I'm Laura, and I'm with the Utah chapter. We do a 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100-mile length cycling event, and I've got a really great timing sheet. If any of you want it, just give me your email address or take my card, and I'll send it. It's all figured out. It's all calculated on if you're riding this many, this fast, this many miles per hour, you're going to finish, and it's all pretty true. It's helped us resolve that problem.
And she raises more money each year. Super job, Laura.
And I want to throw my chapter under the bus for one quick second. So anyone that has ever considered doing the hike, we started the hike. I grew up in South Philadelphia, had no idea what outdoors were. I was presented that I either had to do a extreme hike or a fishing tournament, and I will admit that I'm scared to death of boats and water, so I just chose the hike. So one of the people that we met through the hike, Jen Brem here, if you could take one quick second and explain why you did the hike and what you did this past year.
I hike for my friend Christian. He passed away 2 years ago, and I've always been a hiker. I love the outdoors, and I signed up for the hike not knowing anything about it except I found it online, and I wanted to do something for Christian. So I went out and I hiked. I didn't know anyone. I showed up. I'm from Central PA, showed up at the Delaware Valley. There's a dinner the night before, and I have never been so welcomed by a group of people. Telling the stories that night, Christian was actually in the hospital and passed away 2 months after my first hike. And just telling my story the whole weekend with a bunch of people that understood was such a cathartic experience for me, and just I knew I was going to come back every single year. Last year, I was changing jobs as well. That $2,500 fee fundraising was really intimidating, so I backed off and I did the bike. And I had a great time, but it wasn't the same experience. I wanted to be back with the hikers. So I called Jason and I said, do you need volunteers? I want to be part of the hike. I want to come back. So last year I got involved with both, and now I'm here this year, and I intend to keep coming back every year.
We're proud of you. Proud of you. Anybody have any questions? Okay, Jason, right back here. And then at the end of the room here.
No, you're not ready.
So I want to add to the Extreme Hike and encourage everybody to look into their chapter's Extreme Hike. It is very communal, and our chapter, the DC chapter, we have lots of training hikes. So really, the whole thing starts in June, and it goes all through the summer, and then the hike is in September. But you have all those opportunities to hike for hours with various CF families, and really get to know them and their story and their children or their spouses. It goes beyond. I mean, to me, it's better than Great Strides and cycling because, you're building a family, the CF family, so much more with Extreme Hike. And then the hike itself lasts the whole weekend. You have to start at 5 a.m. on the Saturday, and it goes for 12 hours or 13 hours. It depends on how fast you are or how slow you are. But you have Friday night and all day Saturday and then Sunday morning. So you have a whole weekend together as well. So it's just a great, fun event. I can't recommend it. And I'm not particularly athletic, so you don't need to be particularly athletic to do a 25-mile hike, believe it or not.
Thank you. And Jason, the last question right there.
Yeah, we start our training hikes in March, so don't tell my hikers that you do it in June. Jen, you didn't hear that. Jen, that's still March.
Hi, I'm Jane Mignon. I'm from the Rhode Island, Mass chapter, and my husband and I are co-chairs of the Rhode Island Cycle Ride. And I was just wondering, this has been helpful, just sharing, ideas and suggestions. I'm wondering if there's a way we could continue this discussion by maybe sharing, co-chair of cycle event or climb or whatever event you're doing, emails or whatever. Is there a way to connect and just keep the conversation going so we can share more ideas to help our events?
Anybody?
Yeah, we can definitely do something from this room, but my own personal experience, our hikers created a Facebook group. So they can, in fact, while we've been here, they've been sharing some messages on Facebook about, when's our first training hike, and have we gotten a date, and they stay connected through our group of hikers just through their own Facebook page. So it's a closed group, so only they can see, the discussions they're having, the pictures they're posting. But I definitely think that there should be a way that we can do that nationally as well. So it's definitely something to look into.
Thank you, everybody. This room is ending. But if you have any questions, you can just come up to the table and we'll answer any questions. But we're proud of you. So let's just give Jason and Eric our cheers. Come on. Good job. Thank you kindly, everybody. Thank you.